guys, if you watched my previous Unity video, you may recognize this robot guy here. And this is the project I made him for. So let's press play and see what we have here. And we have some animations actually. This stupid idle animation and walk animation, so you can walk forward, you can walk backwards, you can turn left and you can turn right. The main purpose of this little project was to figure out how animations work in Unity, and I'd say this is kind of a success. And you also can shoot stuff. You aim with the mouse, then you click, and pow. I apologize for the sound effect, but I have no clue how to make actual sound effects, so I just went pow in the microphone and then changed pitch and added some distortion, and that was that. I guess I could go on the internet and find some actual sound effects, but I was too lazy for that. Game is not the best word for this, but I don't have a better word, so let's call it a game. So much fun to play. Actually checks where you are aiming, so you cannot shoot backwards. And now only one barrel fires, because the angle is a bit too great for the other barrel to fire. And now in the idle animation you can see very clearly that guns move around and shots are attached to them. That was kind of a confusing part for me, but I figured that out with the help of Android. So now let's see how everything works, I guess, and let's start with the animations, since that's kind of the main point of that project. If we look at the model here, you can see that it has two animations, idle and walk, and we can preview them here in this little window. As you can see, it's pretty slow, so I had to speed it up a little bit when I was setting up the animation so it would match the player movement a bit better. You can see that animations have start and end frames specified. This is required because in Blender all animations are kind of in one. So if we press play here, you can see that idle and walk animations are like one right after the other. So Unity has to know when animations start and end, so it would be able to tell them apart. And the animation for this model is made with the help of bones. These are the bones for the model, and you just move them around and you can set up keyframes, and then Blender just smoothly transitions between keyframes. It's like pretty cool and convenient. In Unity, animations are handled by animator controller, and that's what its interface looks like. Here are the animation states and transitions between them. There's the idle state, which is idle animation, and it is the default state. And then there's walk state and walk back state. And as you can see, they use the same motion, but walk back has a negative speed, so the animation plays backwards. These are the transitions between states, and you can specify conditions for this transitioning. And then all you have to do is just to change these conditions from scripts, and everything will animate properly. This is very cool and convenient. So let's actually have a look at the player script, player movement script. It is much simpler than the one from the previous video, because this one doesn't have mouse look or character controller, because back when I was making this I didn't know about character controller. So this is pretty much the entirety of the movement code. We just read the keyboard inputs and move and rotate the player. And this part is what actually sets up the condition for animations based on player movement and turning. Now let's have a look at the shooting part, I guess. This is the bone structure for my model, and it's kinda messy. I know you can set up your model to be more convenient to work with, but I just don't know how to. Hopefully I will figure this out at some point. So we have two bones. We are interested in bone 6 and bone 7. These are the bones for the guns. So all things related to shooting are attached to these bones. So stuff like particles and origin points for, you know, shooting rays move together with the model. So let's see what we have here. We have a line renderer attached, which is the graphics for the shots, and we have this robot shooter script attached as well, and the particle system. Let's have a look at the script now. Bunch of variables. In the start function we initialize next fire time. It's negative, so whatever time is it now, it's definitely a positive time, so that's required for the first time player shoots. And then we get some object and component references that we need. This is a line fade script that fades away the graphic for shooting. And this is update function where all the interesting stuff happens. So we check if player is pressing fire 1, which is left mouse button, and left control as well, I think. And we also check current game time. And if it is later than the time that player is allowed to shoot again, we perform a raycast from the camera to mouse position. If that raycast actually hits something, we check the angle between that point that we click on and the gun barrel end. If this angle is not too great, we perform another raycast, this time from the barrel of the gun to that point in the world we're clicking at. And this is required so we wouldn't shoot through walls, and I will explain this in a moment, I guess. So here we just set up the graphic, make it visible again, calculate the next allowed fire time, play the particles, create explosion at the hit point, and play the sound. And then there is this call of the line fade function that slowly makes the shot invisible again. About that shooting through walls part, the way the camera is set up, you can, for example, click here, and if we didn't perform another raycast and would just draw a shot from both barrels to the hit point, the shot from the right barrel would go through this cube here, and that wouldn't make much sense now, would it? So that's why we need the second raycast. And the camera just clips through stuff because I was too lazy to set up proper camera, the right code for camera, because that was not the point of this little project, and the point was animations that just will work, and I'm pretty happy about that. There is another script that I could show you, and it's real simple. This is the script attached to explosions. Well, explosion is a big word for that little particle stuff, but whatever. And basically what it does, it just destroys the game object after 2 seconds, because we don't want these useless explosions to keep piling up in our game, and eventually they will probably cause like some slowdown or something, and we don't really want that. So I guess that's it. Nothing else to talk about in this little project here. So yep, thank you for watching, and see you next time when I feel like bragging about shit that I do. Goodbye.